This episode of Places She Shapes is sponsored by JAC Project Management. Emily has built her career by backing herself in rooms where she wasn't always the obvious choice. From marketing to property leadership, she moved from head of marketing to COO and now Chief Executive Officer of Argyll, reshaping a business, its buildings, and its culture along the way. In this episode, Emily talks ambition, resilience, motherhood, taking risks, and why sometimes the right seat is at a different table. Emily, hi, welcome to Places She Shapes at Abbey Road Studios. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Can you tell me a bit about your role and your company?
Sure. So my name is Emily Smeeth. I am the CEO of a company called Argyll, which is a very niche property business with 23 buildings in prime central London locations. We have mostly period assets, and we chop them all up and we let them out as flex space or serviced offices.
Are they period buildings intentionally? Is that part of the strategy?
It actually is. We have the majority are period buildings, not all of them, but we love a building that doesn't work particularly well conventionally, so that we can go into a period type building, chop them up into small offices. We have sort of 2, 4, 6, 8-person spaces.
Yep.
And then we fill them up with staff, and we have small businesses that come and work from there.
So let's go back to the beginning. Okay. What were you like as a little girl?
Oh, gosh. Well, as a little girl, I grew up in Kent. I was the youngest of 3 children. I was always very ambitious, always very outspoken. I did lots of theatre and singing, rode horses, had a great childhood. And then when I was 12, my parents just upped and moved to Vancouver with our family. We packed our dogs and cats.
Wow.
And we took a punt and just moved to Vancouver on a whim. They didn't have a job to go to. And so my whole life sort of shifted, and I then grew up in Vancouver and had all my teenage years there.
12's must have been quite a difficult time to move, I imagine.
Yeah, it was. I moved in the summer, so we didn't know anybody. We moved to quite a small place called White Rock, and I didn't have any friends. So spent the summer sort of looking around and literally feeling like I'd landed on another planet.
Yeah.
But once I got into school, it was great. I met loads of people, and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Amazing. So you moved, and what do you think you want? If I'd asked you when you were 12 or 13 what you were going to do for a living, what do you think you would have said?
Gosh, well, when I was 12, I probably would have said, ride horses. But then when I moved to Vancouver, I didn't ride again. So it changed quite quickly. But actually, my sister ended up staying in the UK, and she's 7 years older than me.
Okay.
So I used to spend my summers visiting her.
Okay.
And I absolutely loved London. It was just the dream. I loved the culture. I loved the vibe. I loved going out with her. She was working in the city at the time. I used to meet her after work, and we'd go out. And I just thought 100% all I want to do when I grow up is wear a suit and work in London. I had no other dream than that. Literally, I didn't have a plan further than that.
Okay, so you wanted to work in London, wear a suit. Okay, I'm visualising.
I was all about the clothes.
Okay,
back then. I really wanted to look the part.
Yeah.
But my father was a developer.
Okay.
And so we used to, actually going right back to the beginning, we used to buy houses that were derelict and do them up. And I lived in an oast house when I was growing up. So they're the kind of Kent oast houses with they're called cowls, the big chimneys. So we lived in one of those. And so it was kind of a natural progression really for me to move into property eventually. We were really passionate about it, all of us growing up.
So he just flipped houses, did he?
He flipped houses, exactly. Yeah. We lived in one for very long. We lived in some fantastic houses, but as soon as they were finised, unfortunately, we'd put them on the market.
You were out.
And they were I never lived in a finished house. It was always nearly finished. But yes, so when we did that over in the UK, and then when we moved to Canada, he did a little bit of that, but he ended up actually getting into seismic construction, which is earthquake proofing lots of the infrastructure over there. Obviously, they're on a major fault line. So he ended up doing a lot of sort of large projects after we moved there.
Okay. So you finished your education in Vancouver.
Yes.
Then what happened next?
So I went to the University of Victoria, which UVic, which is on Vancouver Island, which I loved. And I came back to the mainland after I finished. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And like many people, I was sort of working in a bar, just sort of thinking about what my next steps were. And my sister was working in the International Herald Tribune, which was in Canary Wharf at the time. The International Herald Tribune was owned by the New York Times. And she had these amazing internships that were very coveted, but fortunately for me, I kind of got in through the back door, and she said, "Look, would you like to come and do 6 weeks over in Canary Wharf with me, and you can do an internship?" And obviously, what an amazing opportunity. So I came straight over, and I got the opportunity to work in lots of different departments, and knew straight away that I wanted to work in marketing, which was the department that I ended up sitting in for most of those 6 weeks.
And what had you studied at university?
I actually studied psychology.
Okay.
But I wasn't sure if it would actually move into the sort of marketing world. But actually, my first interview when I came over to the UK was with a company called Michael Page. You probably know them, big global recruitment company.
Yeah, of course.
I went to them to help me find a job, and they said, "Oh, you can come and work in our marketing department, and we actually think your psychology degree is really useful because you can obviously have a bit more insight into how people are buying things and want to engage with the proposition." So it was actually a nice springboard into the marketing world.
So what was it about marketing that appealed to you? Why did you like that department over the others that you worked in?
I think it was more, I didn't want to do sales. I'm definitely not
Okay.
a sort of salesy person. But I really like the creativity, all the sort of advertising side, the event side. And I got really involved. They used to do lots when I was in my internship. They used to do events at the Donmar Theatre. They'd get their wealthy clients to come, and they'd rent out the whole theatre and put a production on. And so things like that, I loved that sort of how you create experiences so people can really integrate with the brand. I really loved the way that sort of played out when I was doing that internship. So it just sort of springboarded me into the marketing world, which was great.
There was a moment, I think, slightly earlier than that, when you were skiing. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a story that my family fondly call the avalanche story.
Okay.
But because it comes up a lot over lots of chats. So very briefly, when I was in Vancouver, we'd never skied before as a family. We'd always kind of wanted to, but it was a bit out of our reach.
Yeah.
And when we got to Vancouver, my father said, "I really want us all to learn how to ski." So we bought a Jeep, and we all got skis, boots, poles, all the clothes, and we all started going skiing all the time. And quite quickly, we were all very good at skiing. We all got really into it.
Yeah.
And my father was actually a ski patroller within a year of being there. So anyway, one particular day we were all skiing together, and I was skiing through basically on piste, but skiing down a canyon. And the side of the canyon collapsed, and I couldn't ski away. It landed on top of me, and I was buried 8 feet under the snow. And so I was completely trapped under snow, upside down, couldn't move my arms or my legs at all. And I quite quickly realized that I was stuck and couldn't get out, and probably wouldn't get out, because it was just me and my boyfriend at the time on the mountain. And I was quite confident that he had also been buried as well. So long story short, I was lying under the ground, basically dying, and was running out of air. And I'm not quite sure how long it was, but I think it was probably about 3 or 4 minutes under the ground. Finally, I was found by my partner at the time, who had dug himself out, and was able to just see the tip of my ski that had come off but was above me. And he started to dig and found my body underneath the snow. And so he was able to pull me out, and I was fine. I was actually came to. And,
How old were you?
Gosh, that was in my university years. I was about 21.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
And what went through your mind when you were
so
buried?
I was what went through my mind? It was very amazing to me in reflection afterwards that I was really calm. I realized quite quickly that if I panicked, I would have no air. So my whole body sort of shut down really quickly and just had a kind of really rhythmic breathing.
Mm.
I didn't do that on purpose. It just sort of did that.
Yeah.
But my thought really was my whole family was there on the mountain that day. And I wanted to tell them that it actually wasn't that bad, because we'd kind of had conversations about avalanches before, and everybody thinks it must be dire to be under the ground and buried.
Mm.
But actually, I wanted to sort of communicate to them, and felt that I couldn't, that it was actually okay, and it was really calm, and I was fine. And I was just, it was just sort of that idea of just everybody running through your head that you wanted to tell that. Yeah, God, I feel quite emotional talking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just an interesting experience. When I came out the other side, I definitely feel that now. I don't fear that experience at all. It just felt very calm to me and very, very positive, really.
So when you got pulled out, how did you feel immediately after?
I was very just shocked and relieved to be out.
Yeah.
I sort of just sat on the snow, and actually my brother had been at the bottom of the mountain and he'd seen all the snow come down, so he had run up. And when he got to the top, he was sort of frantically,
Yeah.
why have you not answered me? Why have you not responded? And I said, I couldn't. I was under the snow. So it was just it was quite shaken up. But actually, we went the next week. I had to force myself to go back skiing again, because it's something we all do as a family. It's a really big part of our family culture. So it was quite nerve-wracking going back. And even now, if I'm sort of under a bridge and I hear that rumble of a train or something going over the top of a bridge, I still sort of get a bit
Feel it in the-
certainly feel that
Yeah.
that fear. But yeah.
Did you dream about it afterwards?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And you think about that feeling, and that I can still remember the what you see, because it was sort of just white, because it's obviously all snow around you. And
Yeah.
I had my goggles on, so you kind of you can
You
see.
still have your eyes open.
Yeah, so you had your eyes open and you can see all around, and it was just sort of this kind of weird, calm, white
Wow,
surrounding.
what a strange experience.
Yeah, really, really strange. And honestly, even now when you see, you hear these sad stories about people, in getting caught in avalanches, I just can really relate to obviously everything that's going through their mind, and how scary that is. Yeah.
And on a bigger picture, did it change how you led your life or how you approach things?
Yeah, as I say, I just afterwards didn't fear death.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, sure.
I definitely don't now. It sounds a bit morbid, but but did it change my life? Yeah, it made me really appreciate everything in my life, and my family, and my friends, and everything that I had. I don't know whether I've always, as I say, I've always been really ambitious. And I certainly live my life to the fullest. I mean, I'm 50 this year, and I definitely feel like I've packed an awful lot into the first 50 years. So, yeah, I think that's something to do with that for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that experience has changed how you are as a leader? Do you think you'd be different if that hadn't happened?
That's a good question. I think it possibly. I think I'm just really passionate and positive about my life, about the opportunities that I have,
Yeah.
about the people around me and the people that lift you up. And I try and do the same for the people that I work with. I think definitely that has something to do with it. But I've also had lots of experiences in my life that I think have sort of all played part of that
Yeah.
narrative for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I definitely really, really enjoy my work and all the people around me, and the industry that I'm in. And I just really, really appreciate it. So yeah, possibly.
So let's go back to the marketing, Michael Page.
Sure, yes.
What happened after that?
So I went into Michael Page as a really junior marketeer, and at the time they had a really big in-house marketing team, because they were doing lots of recruitment advertising. They were in all the double page spreads in the FT, etc. And so there was about 35 people, I think, in the marketing team for Michael Page. And very quickly I came in as a junior, and I think probably in about the first 8 months the person that led the team decided to leave. And sorry, the person that led my team decided to leave. So I went for the role. They said, no, we definitely think a man would be better for this role. Meat and two veg were the exact words. That they said.
Really?
Yeah. This is a long time ago.
What did you say?
I
And
was
what did you say?
really pissed off.
Yeah.
But actually, in hindsight, I didn't have that much experience anyway. But I
Okay.
just thought, ugh.
So you put yourself forward for it and went, I can do that. And they went, no
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, exactly.
We need something
right.
that you
and
haven't
I
got.
100% could have.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I was
Yeah.
fairly junior, and also they felt it was a better fit for the team that he supported that it would be a guy. Anyway, long story short, but very shortly thereafterwards, the actual head of marketing for the whole department
Yeah.
handed in their notice, and so I thought, well, I'll circumvent that job and I'll go for the big job. So
Okay.
I sent it. He literally announced it to the team, and I sent an email straight off the bat and said, I know I don't have enough experience, but I really want to have your job. What do I need to do to get that job in 6 months' time?
Yeah.
And he said, do the job for 6 months. We won't pay you, but if we can prove that you can do it, you can have it.
Yeah.
And so I did. And so I ended up circumventing the role that I didn't get a few months before, and actually
Love
becoming
that. So
marketing
good.
manager of the whole team, which was amazing, super challenging. I was quite young, but great fun, and I learned a lot. After that, I ended up taking a little break. I went for a couple of months just traveling around South America, and when I came back, I thought, actually, I really want to stay in marketing, but I want to work in property. And I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't really know how to get into it, but I saw this role advertised, which is where I am now, funnily enough, but I have had a gap in this company. But to go and be the head of marketing for a kind of growing serviced office company. It was managing a team of 1, whereas I'd been managing a team of 30. It was a pay cut as well, but I thought, actually, this is an industry I'd quite fancy getting into, so I'll take a punt and see how I go. So I joined Argyll in 2005.
So what attracted you to it? Was that going back to your dad and
Yeah, for
the
sure.
interest in buildings?
Yeah, for sure. So, the portfolio of Argyll, it's still as it stands today. So we have, as I say, we have 23 buildings, but 12 of them we own the freehold of. And those 12 buildings are prime central London real estate, listed buildings, grade 2 or grade 1 star. We have one. Absolutely stunning buildings. We've got Mayfair townhouses, we've got Chelsea townhouses, and we have one really iconic building, which is number 1 Cornhill, which sits on top of Bank Station. It's the iconic sort of dome room overlooking the Bank of England. So we own the freehold of that. So anybody coming into that business who has a glint of property or beautiful things, it definitely, there's something about it that just draws you in and keeps you, because these buildings are off the scale. Nice. They're amazing.
So that was
2005.
2005. So what would you say to people who are thinking about, it's still marketing, but it was a change in direction in terms of the sector, wasn't it? But you took a pay cut to do it.
Yes.
If somebody asked your advice now on doing that, what would you say?
I would say that you should follow what you're passionate about. Don't worry about the pay. The pay will come. Once you get your foot in the door in an industry that you want to get into, and if you enjoy it and you're passionate about it, then you should succeed. And as I say, the pay will come. Don't worry about the pay. The best time to not worry about pay is when you're young, right? So I think I'd say this to my nieces. I've got lots of nieces now, and they're all looking at their first careers. And I think I just say to them, what do you like? Don't worry about what what degree to do or whatever. What is exciting to you? Is it fashion? Is it art? And just try and find a way into a career that reflects that. And for me, I didn't really. It was all about the property side, not so much about the marketing by that point. I really just enjoyed the property world, and the marketing was my way of getting into it.
Okay. So you started working for the company that you're now working for.
Yes.
How did that go? What was the progression like?
So the first year that I came in, as I say, there was only 2 of us, and they were not doing a great deal of marketing, although they had bought a company. So they were looking at a kind of multi-brand proposition. So we were looking at a way to have a parent company and then lots of different brands underneath that parent company, so that if you were coming and you wanted an office, you might want something that was really high end, you might want something that was kind of mid-market, or you might be a startup that wants a really budget opportunity. So we wanted to have different brands. So that was quite exciting to be able to set that up. At the time, our CEO was Peter Kershaw, who was a bit of a legend in the property world. He was kind of one of the founders of Flexible Workspace. But not only that, he actually oversaw the build of the Petronas Towers in Malaysia. So he's a bit of a guru. So he was out there buying lots of new freehold assets, really building up the portfolio. In that first year, we were owned by Morgan Stanley, Fund 5, and we were growing exponentially, but also I was able to reshape the marketing team. And one of the key things that I did was generate lots of inbound leads ourselves. At the time, we were paying per lead from brokers and agents online, online brokers. So I did that and actually ended up saving the business in the first year about £1 million. Wow. And so it was a really positive year. We kind of relaunched the website, relaunched our brand, did all this multi-brand proposition. And when I got to the end of the year, they said, well done, Emily, you've done a great job. We're going to give you your bonus, which was a really small amount, but we're not going to give it to you all at once because we want to retain you. So we're going to give it to you over 3 years. And I think this was because we were owned by Morgan Stanley and they were getting these big bumper amounts of money. So for them, it would be a great retention strategy. But for me, it meant I was getting very little amount for 3 years in a row. And I said, I'm not up for that. I'm leaving. I've saved you all this money. I'm out. Okay. And so I went and found another job working for a hotel group. And I handed in my notice and they said, oh gosh, we're really sorry. We want you to stay. What will it take for you to stay? And I said, I want to be on the board and you obviously have to pay me a massive salary increase. And they said yes. And so so I moved into my role as marketing director and then went on this journey as the board member where we were able to grow the business. And then we sold the business in 2013. We all departed the business because we were all on the board and we had a successful earnout. So
you were on the board and you were 30?
I was 30.
So what was your job title before you handed in your notice and they went, no, don't go?
It was head of marketing, I think. And then I was marketing director and then I was CMO when I left.
Yeah.
So, so it was a bit ballsy, so to speak, but also as I say, I was a bit ballsy back then, probably more ballsy than now.
So do you think if you hadn't said, I'm not having this, I'm off, how long do you think that progression would have happened if you hadn't forced the issue?
It wouldn't. I don't think it would have happened. At the time in the business, it was 2005. It was a property business, very old school, all male board. All of our investors, actually that's not true, well, not all our investors were male, but it was an all-male board.
Yeah.
We had, the marketing department was very much a kind of sidearm of the business. Some people fondly, I say fondly in inverted commas, referred to us as the colouring in department. It was very sort of a nice to have, isn't it fun to have Emily around? But it wasn't seen as kind of integral to the business. But I think by forcing the issue, it sort of bubbled it up to the surface. And actually, I just had to fight to be seen, really.
So you think, had you not done that you would never would have made the board, or just nobody in that, they just didn't see marketing as important?
I don't think they saw marketing as important, but I think that they would have happily. No one was backing me, so I don't think anybody would have put their neck out to raise me up in the business. So I just don't think anybody would have if I hadn't done it for myself. So I think it would have just happily ticked over. And I was still, I was still part of the leadership team, but having that leap up, you had to, they liked the fight that I showed. I think that resonated.
Okay.
But but
so if one of your nieces in 10 years' time says to you, I'm not happy with how this is going, what would you say to them? What would your advice be?
Well, depending on where they are with their career, but I have a bit of a mantra that one of my great friends actually told me, so I'm stealing her work here. But there's been that's not the only time, that I've had to sort of fight to be seen or fight to get a place at the table. And a few years ago, when I was trying to get my role as CEO that I have now, I was getting really frustrated. It was taking an inordinate amount of time to sort of get seen and get interviewed and get this role.
Yeah.
And I was just getting really frustrated. And she said, "You're at the right table. Sorry, you have a seat at the table, but sometimes you might just be at the wrong table." And I just thought that was really, really important, because I did always say, I'm in the room, I'm doing the right stuff, I've got the right contacts, I'm here. Why am I not getting that leap up? And I think sometimes you just need to leave the table and go somewhere else. And unfortunately, I think we're still in that world now. So I think my advice to my nieces would be, do everything you can, and honestly, really be sure that you've done everything that you possibly can do, and you have put yourself forward for all of these roles. But if you still don't have that right seat at the table, then you should leave and get on another one that will see you for who you are.
I think that's great advice.
But I'm always telling them now, even just to even if you think, they always don't back themselves, and I just say, just put yourself out there. The worst thing that can happen if you apply for a role and you don't get it is that they'll know you want it. Even if you don't get that one, they know you're on their radar. Just put yourself out there and try and get that promotion. And then people appreciate that. But it's not a bad thing if you try and get promotion. Everyone appreciates that. So that's also my short-term advice for them, which is just go for everything you can get.
Great. So you get on the board.
Yeah.
And so you're CMO?
Yeah, CMO, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then what happens? How have we now, because you're now CEO, so
Yes,
tell
yes,
us the
leap.
story of how we got from CMO to CEO.
Okay, so all right, so I'm CMO. I'm still at it was Executive Officers Group at the time, but I will call it Argyll for ease. I was still at Argyll, and I actually start dating the head of sales.
Okay.
Shockingly.
Okay.
And we have this really badly kept secret relationship, which everybody knew it wasn't.
Okay.
And we ended up getting married and having 2 kids.
Okay.
So when I sold the business in 2013, I was about to have my second child, and we had sold to new private equity investors. The CEO left, and I went on maternity leave. He then left the business as well, and we took the whole family to Devon. Because we'd both left the business, we just took a little bit of time out. I was on maternity leave anyway. So we took a bit of time out, renovated a grade 2 listed house.
There we go. There we
go. For fun, with 2 young children. I don't know why I do this to myself.
So you're out of London.
So I'm out of London. I'm now in Devon with my listed house. And I decided, I got a call actually from IWG, which is International Workplace Group, owned by Mark Dixon, who you might recognize Regis as their key brand. They had tried to buy the business in 2013 and been unsuccessful. Yeah. But they love the business because it's a kind of, what Regis is sort of more mid-market, and they wanted a premium brand. So I got a call out of the blue to say, Mark very much runs the business. Mark Dixon wants to build a premium brand, and he wants you to come in and build it for him.
So you're not employed at this time?
I'm not employed at this time. I'm at home with kids, babies.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, this is like the dream, right? Coming CMO, this is a global brand. They have, I'm come from 23 buildings. They have 1,000 buildings. They then have 10,000 employees worldwide. They're in 100 languages. It's like a different beast. And so I said, okay, yes, I'll do it, but I'll do it remotely.
For season 3 of Places She Shapes, we're delighted to be supported by Cripps. Cripps is a top 100 UK law firm, working with businesses and individuals across corporate, real estate, litigation, and private client services. Cripps is passionate about solving problems, championing ambitions, making a positive, lasting difference, and is particularly proud to support female leaders, amplifying their stories to help drive meaningful change.
And so I said, okay, yes, I'll do it, but I'll do it remotely.
Uh-huh.
And long story short, I ended up working on and off for Mark in various different opportunities within the business. I set up Signature by Regis. I worked with Spaces brand, which is now I've lost count, but about 150, 200 sites all over the world. I worked on their brand team where they were doing another multi-brand proposition. But the beast that is IWG is just such a fun beast to work in that I would say to them, okay, if you want to launch a premium brand, you need to be in shopping bag districts in premium locations. It needs to, be in places all over the world where you've got people who want to buy luxury goods, for example. And within sort of 5 days, I would have a roster of buildings that we could put the brand into globally. I mean, it was so fun. So that was really, really exciting, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I was able to raise my kids, and I did lots of projects for Mark for 7 years. So it was a fantastic time. 2020 then came, and I had actually oddly said to my husband, do you know what? The kids are a bit older now. I've been doing this stuff, and it was all remote, which was great at the time, but I sort of missed having a team and missed having ideas from people and bouncing ideas off each other. And I said to my husband on a walk, I just feel like I've got a really big job in me. I want to go back in, I think. I want to do something really cool. And I very much believe in manifesting, by the way. But I definitely manifested that because very shortly afterwards, I got a call from Argyll.
Yeah.
And from 2013 to 2020, the business had really changed shape. It had a new investor who'd come in, and a lot of it needed to be rebuilt. They had some of the wrong buildings that had been added to the proposition, which were not making any money. They had underinvested in some of the listed assets, but they'd also, the culture had become quite toxic. And the new investors had said, we really liked this business in 2010. Who's that? Who's that person there? And they said, oh, that's Emily Smeeth. She works over at IWG. And they said, get her back in. And so I got this call, had to go for lunch with the investors at Annabelle's, and I was literally sort of coming out of Devon. It'd been quite a long time, and I didn't really know what it was for. And they said, we bought this business, and we want to kind of bring it back to what the kind of former glory that it was.
Okay. Can I go back a little bit first?
Of course.
Because there's so much good stuff here. I don't want to miss anything. So when Mark called you, and said, I'd like you to come and work with us at IWG.
Yeah.
You had a toddler and a small baby,
Yes.
by the sound of it.
Yes.
How old was the youngest baby?
Oh gosh, a year and a half.
Okay, so you were in the thick of it, as they say.
Yes.
So did Mark know that you were kind of on maternity leave? Was he happy with? He wanted you to come and work for him. Was he happy to take you in any capacity? Is the question one, and the question two is, what was it that he saw in you that made him reach out to get you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually don't know, because it was Francesca Peters is his chief people officer, and she does all of the recruitment and does all the negotiation. Yeah. So it was her that called me, and certainly I think my hunch is that we were the kind of business that got away. They've tried to buy us a number of times.
So they know you.
So they know the management team and they know us. And she had identified me, I think, as the person who'd sort of set up this brand and set up this kind of premium experience for the customers. I didn't know this at the time, but in hindsight, when I look back, whatever I asked for, I seemed to get. So I'd said, well, I live in Devon. And they said, that's fine. You can work remotely. Okay, well, I only want to work 2 days a week. Yeah, that's no problem at all. So I think I had more bargaining power than I realized. But I was so sort of shocked, as it's the first time I'd ever really been truly headhunted in that sort of way. And so I think that he had identified this business as one that he wanted to buy, was unsuccessful. So the next best thing would be to build it himself. So I was in a very good negotiating way. In hindsight, I probably could have done better, but it was perfect for me because I just did 2 days a week. And then that increased to 3 and 4 over time.
But, having gone from presumably, working probably 6 days in 5, for a long time, to then say that you wanted to do that role 2 days a week, there must have been something quite conflicting in your head, because it's really difficult, I imagine, to do a massive role like that in 2 days.
Yes. And also I had to do I wanted to do those 2 days in London. So I had to leave the kids, and they were babies, and that was really hard. But I also it was such a great opportunity and something that I really, really wanted to do, that I did 2. Very quickly, it moved to 3. There was just no way I could do it in 2. But the great thing was I did have an amazing team, and they were setting up this whole, they called it the formats team, but we had everything at our disposal, property guys, the fit out guys, development guys, PMs. So we could do quite a lot from wherever we needed to be. You just had this great team at your disposal. So I could do it, but you're right, it was really conflicting. And the hardest part was definitely coming to London and literally staying in a hotel on your own without your kids. That was quite a sacrifice, but it was that I still talk about that now, which is sort of just dipping your toe in a bit, just keeping in, just creates so much more opportunity for the future. If I'd turned that down, who knows what I'd have been doing now? I don't know.
Was the part of you that wanted to say, yeah, I'll come back and I'll do it full time? And did you wrestle with how it would work?
At that time in my life, no.
You didn't?
I didn't think I would have said no if it was full time. I was really sure that I wanted to have my life in Devon. And I didn't want to spend that much time away from my kids. It's really core to my being that I need to be there for the kids and not be away more than I'm home. So that was always the tipping point for me, to make sure that I was home more and that I was there when they were little.
Yeah. What a fantastic opportunity and phone call.
Yeah, amazing.
To be able to do that. And you must be kicking yourself now that you perhaps didn't ask for a bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was I honestly, I had such a great experience there. I met so many people, and who knows? I mean, when I asked for my salary, I thought I was being punchy, but maybe not. I probably wasn't in hindsight.
Underplayed it.
But as I say, it was so flexible, and being able to live in Devon, it was quite rural Devon, and to have that, be working for a global business.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'd have done it for less.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, so you go back. So you're out for a walk. You manifest this amazing job because your boys are a bit older.
Yeah, they're a bit older. I'm sort of feeling. I actually literally said, I have been working for a global business. I said, I know a lot about this industry now. I really do know a lot. And obviously WeWork had come on the scene in this time.
Yes.
And so it really made Flex, as we call it now, we used to call it serviced offices, but it made it really mainstream. And so I knew that there was a lot of people that were kind of coming into the industry and investing in the industry. So I felt like there was loads of opportunity. And so, I just thought, actually, the kids are older and I've got a bit more bandwidth. I've just got headspace. I can do this now. I can do something really good.
Are you still in Devon?
Yes, I am. But I live in Islington when I'm up here. Okay. And I'm up here more now.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah. So, but actually, so I came back in. I actually came back in as, briefly CMO, but it was COO that I came into the business this last tranche of time. And the reason that I went in as COO was because they wanted to rebuild the whole business, literally from the ground up. They wanted to look at the whole experience and create this premium proposition. And I said to the investors, I can't do that from a CMO point of view. If you want to build an experience, a brand, a culture, I need to have my tentacles in every single piece of the business. Yeah. So, and that was anything from, the design, the fit out, the uniform, the service proposition, the internal culture, recruitment. Suddenly I was looking at every single part of the business, which it was really fun because obviously in the past I had been more brand and as much as I'd have liked to have got more involved in that, for a big global business, obviously you're much more in your swim lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for a much smaller business, you can have a oversight across the whole proposition. But in 2020, it did go bust. I mean, Argyll did go under. And it went under not because of the operational side of the business, but because the private equity people that had called me and got me in had over-leveraged. And so I was only there for a very brief time with them. And when we suddenly had Mark Dixon, IWG, came back in to try and buy the business. And I thought, gosh, all roads in my life seem to lead to IWG. I thought I was back in. But long story short, they didn't end up being successful. And we ended up having a new investor, which was a private equity house that bought the debt. And that was the start of my journey from 2020 to 2025 of being COO and truly rebuilding the business from the ground up.
And how did you find that COO challenge? Because that's a different C, obviously, but a different challenge.
Yeah. So it was literally really fun in that we knew what good, I say we, because actually they ended up bringing the old CEO back as well. So the old CEO called John Drover, he came back in as well. We'd worked together in the past.
Okay.
We were good friends.
Yeah.
And we would sit together. The business was, as I say, coming out of lockdown, coming out of new investment, had 7 years of underinvestment and a poor culture. And so we set to trying to rebuild it. So we knew what the kind of North Star was. We knew what good looked like, but we had to try and figure out how to get there as fast as possible. And literally every stone we lifted up caused kind of chaos.
Really?
And we didn't realize quite what was happening underneath the surface.
Yeah.
So it was much more challenging than I would have thought. I absolutely loved it. It's definitely
going to be my
favorite thing to do.
Really?
Which is I love
solve the problems.
I love solving problems and rebuilding something. It's definitely my favorite part of my role. But the CEO, he set to we exited some buildings that were the wrong buildings. So we had to close a number of sites. There was 38 buildings. We're now at 23. So we came out of quite a few. We refurbished a lot of the owned assets. So some of the listed buildings, we did 7 projects simultaneously where we refurbished them. And that was about 23 million pounds of investment into the portfolio. So there were some great things that we were doing. There were some sad things that we were doing. We were closing sites. That's never good. And then my role was to oversee a lot of that change, but also to rebuild the culture. And that was definitely the hardest part.
So what had happened to the culture in the time that you'd been away, if you like?
Yeah, so we have about 200 people that work for us. And it had been quite a dictatorial leadership, I would say. As I said, the buildings were somewhat underinvested. It wasn't that sort of real, they weren't drawn together as a team. There had been, people that had been exited. It was COVID. It was just, it was a bit gloomy.
Yeah.
And we're an experience-led organization. We want our customers to be greeted with a smile every day. And we want our teams to, do that genuinely and really enjoy what they do. I sat down with, I hired a good chief people officer and sat down with her and said, okay, how do I build a culture and how do I build a culture fast? And we looked at looking at all the benefits, all the pay, all the structure. We did diversity work, and we just really talked to our teams, made sure that we understood, did lots of pulse surveys about how they're feeling, etc., and just did events and tried to bring everybody back together as a team. That's still ongoing, but we were really highly regarded for that. And around, I think, 2024, we actually won lots of awards for a lot of the work that we ended up doing to sort of diversity and inclusion and just making people feel part of the team. It was really well received in the industry, which was great.
Why do you think culture is so important to an organisation?
Gosh, I mean, it has to flow through everything, especially in operational real estate. We need to make sure that we are able to recruit the right people, retain the right people, and happy people give great service and great experience to the customers.
Uh,
When I joined the business in 2020, we had a 35% churn of staff. It's 3.5% now. So we are able to, commercially, we're able to retain them. They're well trained. They like their jobs. We have our customers stay for 4.5 years. In our industry, it's about 6 months is the average. So, from a commercial point of view, it obviously has its benefits, but also we just want to be a really nice place to work.
uh,
So it has to be really fun. It warms my heart when I see we have a Bob, which is a HR sort of social media page, but just for us.
yeah.
And last week, one of the teams organized a board game night, and everybody went and played all these kind of abstract board games,
That's
which I just thought was
amazing.
really sweet.
That's cool.
That's something that would never have happened in the past. But,
Yeah.
people who play together stay together,
Yeah.
right?
And how did you go from COO to CEO?
Well, my CEO, John, he actually came back temporarily in 2020. He was still here in 2025. But
It's supposed to be short term.
yeah, it's supposed to be short term. And we had often talked about the succession plan and that he may sort of step away at some point and I would hopefully progress into the role. So I was very much putting myself in that position.
Mm.
Um, when he started to talk about stepping away as CEO, I approached our investors at the time and said, I want to be put forward for this role. And to be honest with you, I think they were quite surprised. I don't think they had considered that that would be what would happen as a natural progression. And they, through one way or another, had gone out to look for replacements for the CEO. So they did a whole recruitment process.
Okay.
I was surprised by this, but also, saw it as a bit of a challenge, and it's something that's obviously repeated in my career over time. I started to really put myself out there. I got myself an executive coach, which I asked our investors to pay for. I got my team to use our PR clout to get my name more out in the industry. I ended up being put forward for an award and winning Woman of the Year in Property Week's Woman of the Year awards. And the reason for that is that I wanted to get a table, invite our investors, and win Woman of the Year so that they would see that this was a natural progression of leadership. It was quite high risk because I didn't know I was going to win it. And actually, when I was sitting there and it was only really when I sat down at the table, I thought, oh God, I hope I do. This is a nightmare if I don't. But anyway, I did. So that was great. So it was definitely it was a slow burner to get them to really see me in that driver's seat. And I think that they had their vision of what the CEO of the business might look like. And I mean look like.
Okay.
And I just don't know if I fit that mold necessarily. However, long story short, I seem to win them round. And when they did the recruitment process, the recruiters put me forward as the person that should do the role.
Okay. So you still had to go through the whole
Yeah, I did
recruitment
all
process.
the interviews.
Okay.
And actually, the recruiter said to me, I don't know why I'm here doing this with you. You're obviously the person that should do this role. So they got it. But they ended up not putting me in the role. We ended up going into a sale process. And last year, we sold the business and we sold it to a new investor. And again, going back to manifesting, I found myself with a new investor who had complete belief in me, that had conviction in the business and conviction in the team, wanted to grow the business and had the money to do it. And so when we sold the business last year, it was agreed that I would step into the role as CEO with our new investors. And so that's what we've done since January this year.
You said when you were younger that you were ambitious. And I think your story has told us that you've always been willing to put yourself out there and go, actually, if you don't like it, then I'll just go do something else. And putting yourself forward for an award that you didn't know you were going to win. Like you've been willing. Where does that drive and that ambition come from?
So, so growing up, I was in a small village in Kent, and my parents had lots of great friends, and it was a very social, fun way of life. Lots of people were fairly affluent. My family weren't, particularly, and I just saw that as a way that I wanted to be. I wanted to be, I always wanted to be a sort of senior person, to lead a team. Even when as a child, I always, we're making up a dance, I wanted to be the lead dancer,
be
or
in
the
charge
person
of
that
it,
was
yeah.
organising the dance routine.
Yeah.
They weren't very good, just to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's definitely innate, but also I was surrounded by people that were fairly successful and wanted to be them. Yeah.
Okay. And that's sort of followed through, but you've taken, it doesn't sound like it's kind of money driven. It's more about the position and feeling like you deserve to be in that next position because you've worked hard for it.
Yeah, honestly, it's so not money driven. When I was young, we went from sort of rags to riches. There was crashes in the market. We'd develop a house. We'd get a bit of money. It was great. Then suddenly we wouldn't have any money again.
Sure.
So it was never really about that. I've always felt quite fluid in terms of happiness is not about that.
Yeah.
It was always about being able to lead a team, being able to bring people up. That for me really, really drives me. I love having ambitious people that work for me or with me and being able to support them. That's what gets me out of bed. It's definitely not about money.
And do you do some mentoring? Do you do that officially or in an unofficial capacity?
Yeah, so I did. I have done a little bit of it, not a great deal. I've felt that I still feel I'm quite new in my role. I definitely will do that. I feel like I need to get my feet under the desk a bit more, and certainly when I'm a bit more experienced as a CEO, I definitely will do more of that. But people on the team, I talked about building the culture. There was a particular person when I came back to the business that had 2 kids. She was a PM. She literally came into my office and broke down in tears and said, I'm so overworked. I never see my children. I have to come into the office, all day, every day. They won't let me leave till 6 o'clock and et cetera, et cetera. And I said, we're going to do this project. We're going to develop 7 buildings at the same time. I want you to PM it. You choose what hours you work. You can come in when you need to. I trust you.
Make it work for you.
And she absolutely flourished. She's now left us and gone to work for Aura. But she, so that sort of mentorship is, really fantastic to be able to give people those opportunities. And literally, she just shone after that.
That's great. So the podcast is called Places She Shapes, as you know. So I have 3 shaping moments questions. The first one is regarding the places. You're in a room with everyone you've ever met, dead or alive, excluding your immediate family. Who would you look for and why?
I would look for my gaggle of best friends, who are all super successful in their own way. All super creative, and we just have a great time, but also just really lift each other up and support each other. And honestly, just the conversations we have, we could take over the world when we're together.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are they school friends, university friends, work friends, or a bit of everything?
No, they're Devon friends, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, Devon friends, but from all walks of life. And all really successful in their own right, and all building these amazing careers.
Amazing. Yeah. Inspiring.
Really inspiring.
Yeah. Okay, the she question. Who's the woman you turn to for advice and why her?
I turn to advice from my great friend who runs a social media agency. Well, actually, it's paid search agency. She's built it from the ground up. She's suffered from some illnesses and has come out the other side. And she is really empowered she's brought her business up from the ground up. She's built a really successful business. At some point, I'm sure she'll exit that business. But she is an amazing coach and really fun. And, when you need to, when you're in a party, she'll be the one who stands on the chair and gets the singing going. So that's who I would turn to.
And why is she good at advice?
She is. She's seen it all.
Yeah.
But she's the person who gave me the advice about, getting off that table, sitting at the right table.
Okay.
She has fought her way through a really difficult, challenging industry and built something that is just unbelievable, an amazing business.
Wow. And the final one, shapes. How would you shape your ideal day?
Oh, gosh. Fun. So my ideal day, I think I have two. Can I have two?
Yeah, of course.
My two ideal days, I have a sort of split life because half my life is in Devon, and that's where my kids and my family and my dog, my husband are. And then I've got my London life. My ideal London day is definitely getting into the office early, meeting the team, having a good roundtable discussion, going to see some of our buildings. I went to see one of our new buildings yesterday that we're developing. And I said, I've had quite a hard morning, but I just want to come here because it will lift my spirits.
Yeah, let's go and look at something.
See these amazing spaces. So definitely that. And then potentially, having, I don't know, catch up with someone who's doing really well on the team. And then ideal day, go to the gym, play netball, and then, have a quiet supper. I'm
Lovely.
quite quiet in London. In Devon, it would definitely be hanging out with the kids, going for a walk, watching some sport, just being at home. It's I'm making myself sound very quiet, but seeing friends.
Yeah.
Having
Lovely. Sounds
a Bloody
great.
Mary.
Sounds like a lovely day. Either one sounds great. Emily, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this conversation, follow Places She Shapes wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss the rest of season 3.